And now it's time for a preview of an upcoming game by Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're going to be taking a look at a small card game called The Agents, which is currently on Kickstarter. Now I say this is a small card game, but the gameplay itself is much more involved than that. This is a very interesting 2 to 5 player card game in which you're playing secret agents, but the way this card game goes, the whole idea of this card game is that when you play a card, you are helping yourself and someone else at the same time, and you have to figure out how you can help yourself better and not help someone else out too much. If that sounds confusing, let's take a look at how it plays. Hopefully that will clear it up. Now the whole point of this game is that you're going to have agents that will be in different factions. If it's 2 players, you'll have 2 lines of factions. One line here and another line here. But if you're playing with 3, 4, or 5 players, there'll be a line of factions between me and the person to my left, and then there will be a line of agents in one faction and between me and the player to my right. And so that way you're always interacting with 2 factions, one with 2 different players, unless it's a 2-player game, in which case you have 2 separate factions. Now you're going to start with some of these agents in your hand, and you'll also be starting with a mission, and you'll be starting with some points. There are different cards in the game that have different points. You'll be starting with 5 of those, and the goal of this game is to be the first person to get 5 points. Now let's take a look at these agents. Remember, of course, as I do all my prototypes, that everything you see here is not final, that the components might change and things. But here's an agent. This is a paramedic, and you can see that he will revive any dead agent in your factions in any direction. Now, what happens when you play an agent in one of your factions? You can play it either direction. When you play an agent, you have to add it to the end of a row on either side, although there is a card, actually this one here, the infiltrator, who can go between cards, but for the most part you usually add them to the end, and you can add them in either direction to a faction. Now, when you play one of these cards, it has a command on it, something that will happen, and it also has an arrow on it. If I play it with the command towards my opponent, then my opponent immediately will do and take that action. If I play it with the command towards me, I will get that action. You say, well, why would you not play them with you? Well, it's because of these arrows. See, if I can get arrows that are whole, see, this is a whole arrow here pointing towards me, at the end of my turn I'm going to get 2 points. If an arrow is made up of 2 different colors, like this one here, I'll get 1 point. So you can see if I have these 3 agents next to each other, every turn I'm going to be getting 3 points, and that's just for one of my factions. If I manage to set it up in another faction, I can do really well. Well, that's part of it, but there's cards. Many of these agents are going to let you rotate agents or kill agents, turning them over, or like in the paramedic sense, bringing an agent back. There's also free agents. When you play a free agent with someone, it's going to give you just points and a command for the player. Like this one here, you pay 4 points, victory points, to select any mission from the deck. So I can do that in giving my opponent 3 points, or my opponent can take the action and I'll get 3 points. And so there's many of these free agents in the deck. Here's an assassin. I can kill any agent, and then I give my opponent 3 points. But I might want to let them kill any of the agent and give myself 3 points. So on your turn, you'll have 2 different actions that you can take. You can play one of these agents in front of you, or an agent who has a command facing you. You can use that command again, or you can pay points to draw more agents, either from the deck of agents, or you can pay more points to draw them, the top one from the discard pile, which will often be one of these free agents since they're used and then discarded. You can also buy more missions, or basically take a mission of your choice from the discard pile. Now these missions can be played at the very end of your turn, and each grouping of spies can have up to 2 missions played on it. So this one here will give me 3 points if I'm getting no points from either of my factions. Here I can get 4 points for each pair of identical agents that are adjacent in this faction. Missions aren't always the easiest thing to pull off. This one will give me 2 points if this is the shortest of my 2 factions. But I can put up the 2 of them, and this will increase the number of points in my turn. Each time my turn's over and I'm finished with my 2 actions, I will take points from any arrows that I might have pointing towards me, plus any missions that I might have accomplished. And this will continue. You'll be spending a few points to get more agents in your hand. That's the best way to get agents into your hand. Or maybe even to get more missions as time goes by. But essentially, you're trying to go above and beyond to get those 40 points. And that's how the game works, really. The first person to 40 points is the winner. And it's all about all these different missions that you'll be playing from your hand and the variety of agents. The thing is, there really isn't that huge of a number of agents or missions in the game. It's how they interact with each other that really makes the game. And that's the whole crux of this game, is that it's one of these, this whole new, almost revolution in gaming, where we're taking games and not giving them a ton of components, but giving them a ton of game. These decks aren't that big, really, the agents and the missions deck, but the way that they interact with each other, even though, at first I was thinking in an abstracted way, flip this agent over, rotate this card, but the theme, the spy theme, comes through really well. It works really well as a 2-player game. It works well 3 to 5. At first, in a 5-player game, I was thinking, okay, yeah, I just deal with the guy to my right, deal with the guy to my left. Those are the only people I need to take care of. But those free agents can be played against any player. So there's that constant looking around. I can go for points, and that's one strategy, to try to get as many points. But if you take no commands and just give all the commands to your opponent and take points, eventually you'll find that they're the ones who will be rotating your cards and killing your cards and reviving their cards and doing and completing their missions, and you're not pulling that off. Your missions give you focus, but you also have to constantly be watching what your opponents are doing, because you cannot allow them to get that many points. The game starts off in a fairly slow way, but gets faster and faster very quickly, and the game is not long, but when you're done with it, you feel like you've played a fairly involved strategic game. The artwork is cool. Like I said, the spy theme comes through. So this is one that I'm very much looking forward to seeing it in its final production. The game is already funded, so jump on board now, because it will do well. In just a moment, we're going to show you the Kickstarter link for the agents. So if you're interested in a 2 to 5 player spy card game that plays quickly but has a feel of a heavier game with easy rules, of course, then you can support the agents. Here's that link.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.